to Hotspot Online Television. I'm your host, Aisha Betty Rogers. With international news summary, please follow, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Moscow has expressed its appreciation to Nigeria for observing the Zapad 2025 Joint Strategic Military Drills. The Russian Ministry of Defense announced on Thursday. The statement followed high-level talks between Russian Defense Minister Andriy Belosov and a delegation from Nigeria's Defense Ministry led by Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Gabin Musa. Iran's top security body has announced the suspension of nuclear cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA), citing actions by Western European nations against the Islamic Republic. On Friday, the UN Security Council voted to reimpose sanctions on Iran, which had been suspended in return for curbs on its nuclear program in a 2015 deal. Maritime tragedies off the coast of Libya have left over 110 Sudanese refugees dead or missing, UN agencies have reported. On Wednesday, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees (UNHCR) in Libya confirmed that a vessel carrying 74 people had capsized on Saturday off the coast of Tobruk. Only 13 survived the incident, while dozens remain missing. Afghanistan has rejected US President Donald Trump's ultimatum that Bagram Air Base be returned to American control, insisting that such demands violate the 2020 Taliban-US agreement on the withdrawal of troops. On Sunday, Trump warned that if Afghanistan doesn't give up the facility back, unspecified bad things are going to happen. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has stressed his country's willingness to serve as a facilitator in ongoing dialogue between Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan over the management of Nile water resource. In an interview with Hotspot Online TV, the president voiced strong support for the recent commissioning of the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam (GERD), the largest hydropower dam in Africa. US President Donald Trump's administration is imposing new restrictions on media coverage of the US military, requiring news organizations to agree they will not disclose information that the government has not approved for release. In a memo on Friday, the Department of Defense said journalists who publish unauthorized sensitive material could have their press credentials revoked. Media advocates said the restriction would stifle independent reporting. France and Saudi Arabia will convene dozens of world leaders on Monday to rally support for a two-state solution, with several of them expected to formally recognize a Palestinian state, a move that could draw harsh Israeli and US response. Israel and the United States will boycott the summit, said Israel's UN ambassador Dani Danon. President Nicolas Maduro offered to engage in direct talks with the administration of US President Donald Trump days after the first US strike on a boat from the South American country that Trump says was carrying drugs traffickers. In a letter to Trump that was published by Venezuela on Sunday, Maduro rejected US claims that Venezuela played a big role in drugs trafficking. North Korea's Kim Jong-un said there was no reason to avoid talks with the US if Washington stopped insisting his country give up nuclear weapons, but he will never abandon the nuclear arsenal to end sanctions, state media reported on Monday.